texts and modern photographs. Still, it persists in alternative history communities, where the moon continues to be seen as much more than just Earth's natural satellite. It's apparently been our celestial temple all along.
Putting teamwork to the test in this match under traditional tag rules. Taking part in this one, we have Cora Jade, Katana Chance, Shotzi, and Zelina Vega. And standing across from them, it's a very tough test with Cora Jade, Katana Chance, Shotzi, and Zelina Vega.
Quick tags and staying fresh are imperative in a tag match. The question is, which duo has the better teamwork to stick to that strategy?
Or barometer that advanced alien civilizations use to assess our
that can be Jade's demise.
alien species avoid direct contact with planets exhibiting chaotic or aggressive auric signatures, explaining why, despite numerous UFO sightings, no definitive first contact has occurred. These extraterrestrials technologies to monitor our collective consciousness remotely, rather than relying on physical surveillance or intercepting our radio transmissions and digital communications. The theory builds upon concepts of individual human auras and microbial consciousness, proposing that bacteria, plants, animals, and humans all contribute varying frequencies to Earth's overall energetic profile. Humans, with our complex brains and capacity for self-awareness, supposedly contribute the most influential vibrational patterns. Our wars, environmental destruction, and spiritual disharmony create distortions in the planetary aura that mark us as unready for cosmic community. Some New Age groups and fringe scientists have attempted to measure changes in Earth's electromagnetic field during mass meditation events, claiming to find evidence of coherent patterns forming during periods of widespread peaceful thought. They interpret these patterns as temporary clearing of Earth's aura. Ancient texts from various cultures that reference Earth as a living being, such as the Gaia hypothesis, indigenous spiritual beliefs, and certain interpretations of quantum field theory, are often cited as historical precedents for this concept. Adherents claim these traditions intuitively understood what modern science is only beginning to quantify. The most extreme versions of this theory suggest that once humanity reaches a critical mass of enlightened individuals, often cited as between 5 and 15% of the global population, the Earth's aura will undergo a dramatic shift in vibration. This planetary consciousness upgrade would supposedly trigger the removal of an alien quarantine, allowing open contact with benevolent cosmic neighbors who have been patiently waiting for us to evolve. And yes, this theory does conveniently explain why nobody can prove aliens exist while simultaneously ensuring we're somehow still cosmically important. After all, it's much more comforting than thinking aliens just aren't that into us. Cosmic Demons describes the theoretical existence of demonic entities inhabiting the cosmos, functioning as dark counterparts to celestial angels. This concept expands upon the angelic sun theory, which positions our solar system's star as a divine guardian of Eden's remnants on Mars. The theory suggests that various unexplained astronomical phenomena, gamma-ray bursts, rapidly disappearing stars, and unusual radio signals might actually be evidence of ongoing spiritual warfare between these cosmic forces. Proponents point to ancient texts across multiple civilizations that describe stars as living beings or divine messengers. They note that several religious traditions specifically mention fallen angels being cast into the outer darkness, or the void, potentially referring to deep space rather than a metaphysical realm. Medieval manuscripts contain surprisingly detailed accounts of battles in the heavens that some theorists claim align suspiciously well with modern observations of supernovas and stellar collisions. The theory further proposes that humans venturing into space represents a dangerous transgression of divine boundaries. Believers highlight the unusually high failure rate of early space missions, unexplained equipment malfunctions on later expeditions, and reports of strange psychological effects experienced by astronauts as potential evidence of otherworldly resistance to human presence. Some adherents cite the biblical Tower of Babel as a cautionary precedent, warning that space exploration constitutes a similar act of hubris. Fringe researchers have compiled databases of anomalous space events they believe represent demonic activity, including unexplained shadows moving across Jupiter's surface, geometric patterns appearing in nebulae, and what they describe as faces captured in deep space telescope imagery. More extreme versions of the theory suggest that black holes might be portals to hell itself, with their extreme physics representing the supernatural boundary between our realm and demonic dimensions. The theory gained surprising traction in the 1970s when several retired NASA employees allegedly formed a secretive research group dedicated to investigating possible supernatural explanations for space anomalies. While most astronomers dismiss the notion entirely, the cosmic demons concept continues to evolve within certain religious and conspiracy communities. As one theorist dryly noted, "In space, no one can hear you exercise." Mimetic existence theory suggests that human consciousness operates as a collective force that literally sustains reality. According to this concept, individuals who fade from collective memory, those who leave no lasting impact or meaningful connections, may actually cease to exist entirely. This builds upon esoteric traditions proposing that belief itself can manifest phenomena or entities into being. The theory draws disturbing parallels to simulation theory by proposing that certain people might be temporary constructs, essentially NPCs or non-player characters, created solely to populate our reality and make it appear complete. These beings would lack true consciousness or souls, existing merely as background characters in someone else's story. Some proponents point to the uncanny feeling of encountering people who seem oddly two-dimensional or whose lives follow suspiciously generic patterns. They suggest these might be placeholder entities generated by whatever system governs our reality, only to be deleted or recycled when no longer observed. More elaborate versions of this theory involve shadowy organizations supposedly dedicated to documenting and monitoring these mimetic entities. By observing and recording these beings, these groups allegedly force them to remain in existence, perhaps as a power play to control the fundamental nature of reality itself. Believers cite strange census anomalies, unverifiable historical figures, and the phenomenon of discovering that childhood acquaintances seem to have mysteriously disappeared from all records. They claim these are glitches in the system, instances where the mimetic maintenance protocol failed. Some take it further, suggesting that certain meditation techniques or psychological states might allow one to perceive which individuals are real and which are mimetic constructs. This has unfortunately led to concerning social behaviors where adherents categorize people they meet as either authentic beings or disposable NPCs. The real kicker? According to the most paranoid believers, anyone who dismisses this theory too quickly might just be a mimetic entity themselves, programmed to maintain the illusion. After all, what better defense mechanism for a simulation than to make its placeholders vehemently deny their own artificial nature? Demonic Plants proposes that if some plants possess divine qualities, then others may embody purely malevolent forces. These hypothetical botanical abominations would exist solely to harm humans, other organisms, and entire ecosystems. While no naturally occurring plant fits this description perfectly, conspiracy theorists point to several concerning examples, including the invasive kudzu that chokes entire forests, strychnine producing plants with no known ecological benefit, and fungi like ergot that have caused mass poisonings throughout history. Some occultists claim ancient grimoires contain references to gardens of the damned, where demonic flora was cultivated specifically for cursing enemies. These texts allegedly describe plants that could not survive in ordinary soil, but thrived when fed with blood or planted in desecrated ground. Medieval witch hunters occasionally accuse their targets of growing such malevolent vegetation, though modern historians attribute these claims to superstition and fear. Government black site research facilities have allegedly attempted to weaponize plant biology, creating modified species with enhanced toxic properties or invasive capabilities. Conspiracy forums occasionally feature anonymous posts claiming to be from scientists who witnessed experiments combining genetic modification with occult rituals to create plants that could selectively target certain populations or bloodlines. Modern practitioners of chaos magic and some extreme eco-terrorists reportedly believe they can create or summon demonic plants through rituals that invert traditional blessing ceremonies for crops. They claim these anti-life botanical entities could potentially be used to cleanse areas of human influence or prepare environments for something else to inhabit. The theory often intersects with fears about genetically modified organisms, suggesting that tampering with plant DNA could accidentally open doorways to botanical manifestations of malevolent entities. Some theorists claim that certain unusual plant diseases or mutations are actually early signs of demonic influence entering our world through the plant kingdom, nature's early warning system that something unnatural is taking root. Science fiction cultural shifts describes a theory suggesting that science fiction literature and media function as catalysts for technological advancement through collective belief. This concept builds upon the fiction-non-fiction theory, which proposes that widespread belief in fictional concepts can manifest them into reality. Throughout history, numerous technologies first imagined in science fiction eventually became reality. From Jules Verne's submarines and Arthur C. Clarke's communication satellites to Star Trek's mobile phones and tablets, fiction has repeatedly preceded invention. Some theorists argue this isn't mere coincidence, but evidence of humanity's collective consciousness shaping reality. The theory suggests that as societies transition from religious or supernatural explanations towards scientific understanding, science fiction serves as a bridge. By reimagining mystical concepts through technological frameworks, science fiction provides acceptable templates for human innovation rather than divine intervention. Proponents point to the accelerating rate of technological development following the mainstream popularity of science fiction in the 20th century. They note how military and scientific organizations actively recruit science fiction authors as consultants, blurring the line between imagination and research. This perspective views science fiction as performing a dual function. It inspires specific technological innovations while simultaneously shifting cultural authority from religious institutions to scientific ones. The genre effectively secularizes the miraculous by recasting supernatural phenomena as potentially achievable through human ingenuity and technological progress. Some adherents believe this process is deliberate, with powerful interests using science fiction as a tool to gradually replace spiritual frameworks with technological ones. They suggest that controlling the narrative of what's possible shapes what eventually becomes possible, creating a feedback loop between fiction, belief, and material reality. Critics counter that this interpretation reverses causality. Technological progress enables science fiction rather than the other way around. However, believers in the theory note the uncanny accuracy with which some authors have predicted future developments, suggesting something more complex than mere extrapolation might be at work. Leyline Survival Mechanisms expands on the idea that ancient energy pathways crossing Earth serve as humanity's evolutionary insurance policy. These invisible energy conduits, supposedly mapped by civilizations from Stonehenge builders to Chinese geomancers, might explain why certain locations consistently rebirth civilization after catastrophes. Archaeological evidence shows peculiar patterns where major ancient settlements cluster along theorized leyline intersections, with these same locations often becoming centers of subsequent civilizations after collapse events. This geographical consistency defies random chance, suggesting these power nexuses somehow preserve human knowledge or accelerate recovery. Some researchers point to anomalous radiation readings and electromagnetic fluctuations detected along purported leyline paths, theorizing these energy conduits might shield inhabitants during cosmic disasters or solar events. Ancient megalithic structures positioned at leyline crossings could have served as amplifiers or regulators of this protective energy. Fringe archaeologists note that civilizations with sophisticated leyline knowledge, like the Maya, ancient Egyptians, and certain Chinese dynasties, displayed technological and astronomical understanding seemingly beyond their era's capabilities. This suggests ley lines might transfer information or accelerate innovation among populations settled along them. Geological studies reveal that ley-line-associated locations often show unusual mineral compositions and groundwater properties that could enhance survival during environmental catastrophes. These areas frequently contain rare earth elements and unexplained electromagnetic anomalies that might provide natural protection against extinction-level events. Folk traditions worldwide contain surprisingly similar references to earth veins or dragon lines that bestow blessings on those who build homes and temples upon them. These traditions often include warnings about disrupting these energy paths, suggesting ancient awareness of their protective properties. The persistence of sacred geometry in architecture across disconnected cultures might represent encoded instructions for tapping into ley-line energy during civilization resets. These architectural templates consistently reappear after dark ages, as if knowledge of how to harness ley-line protection resurfaces instinctively among surviving populations. As one researcher dryly noted, perhaps our ancestors weren't building on ley lines to please the gods, but to ensure there would be someone left to remember them after the next cosmic oopsie. Pelagic giants are theorized to be colossal sea monsters that allegedly serve as guardians or deterrents deployed by powerful hidden forces operating from ocean depths or within a supposed hollow earth. Throughout maritime history, sailors have reported encounters with massive, unidentifiable creatures that defied conventional zoology, from the kraken to enormous sea serpents spanning hundreds of feet in length. Stories of these creatures date back to ancient times, with remarkable consistency across different cultures and time periods. Medieval and Renaissance maps often featured illustrations of massive sea beasts in uncharted waters, alongside the warning, "Here be monsters." These warnings supposedly served a dual purpose, representing genuine danger while discouraging exploration of certain oceanic regions. Some conspiracy theorists suggest these monsters were not merely legends but biological reality, genetically engineered or naturally evolved creatures controlled through advanced technology by an ancient civilization dwelling beneath the waves. This hidden society allegedly uses these creatures as a security system to protect underwater entrances to their domain or to the inner Earth itself. Proponents point to the fact that governments have poured billions into space exploration, while much of Earth's deep oceans remain unexplored. Perhaps more telling is how early oceanic research expeditions were frequently abandoned after reporting strange phenomena or experiencing unexplained equipment failures, conveniently preventing further investigation of certain areas. Modern deep-sea sonar occasionally detects massive moving objects that defy explanation, quickly dismissed by authorities as equipment malfunction. Declassified naval documents reference protocols for dealing with anomalous biological entities of extreme size, with strict orders to maintain silence about encounters. The theorized connection between these creatures and powerful elites suggests that the monsters serve as living barriers to humanity's expansion into the oceans. Some believe that as technology advanced, the controllers of these beasts have shifted tactics from outright terrorizing sailors to more subtle forms of interference with scientific exploration. Skeptics note that while our oceans certainly contain undiscovered species, the logistics of hiding creatures of such immense size stretches credibility. Then again, perhaps that's exactly what the Hollow Earth elite want you to think. Divine Graphetics refers to the theory that the original written form of human language possessed supernatural powers derived directly from the divine. This concept extends the divine linguistic censorship theory, which suggests that the first human language had inherent mystical properties before being scattered and diluted through events like the biblical Tower of Babel. According to proponents, the earliest writing systems weren't merely representations of sounds or concepts, but actual conduits of divine energy. Ancient scripts like Proto-Sinaitic, Sumerian cuneiform, or even undiscovered earlier forms may have retained fragments of this power. The theory suggests that when properly arranged, these original written forms could manifest reality-altering effects, essentially functioning as operational magic. Sacred geometry found across ancient cultures might actually be degraded remnants of these original divine characters. The geometric patterns in Gothic cathedral windows, Islamic architecture, Hindu yantras, and Native American sand paintings could all be unconscious human attempts to recapture the power of this primordial written language. Some adherents believe certain religious texts contain hidden fragments of this divine script, with the original power deliberately obscured through translation and transcription. This explains why many religious traditions place special significance on how sacred texts are physically written, from Torah scroll creation to Islamic calligraphy to illuminated Christian manuscripts. Modern researchers of divine graphetics claim that electromagnetic measurements at ancient sacred sites show unusual patterns when certain symbols are present. These energy signatures allegedly differ from normal background radiation and appear strongest around specific geometric arrangements. The theory suggests that various secret societies throughout history have preserved fragments of this original written language, explaining the emphasis on symbolic imagery in groups like the Freemasons, Rosicrucians, and others. Their symbolic languages may be attempts to reconstruct or preserve pieces of the divine script. Perhaps the most amusing aspect of divine graphetics is the earnest attempts by some believers to patent divinely inspired fonts and writing systems that supposedly amplify intention and manifestation. These modern scribes charge hundreds for workshops teaching how to write with cosmic consciousness, despite the evident lack of miracles in their PowerPoint presentations.
Inverted face lock.
Earthly aura influence posits that humans and Earth exist in a continuous feedback loop of energetic exchange. According to proponents, the planet's electromagnetic field, often called its aura, both affects and is affected by human consciousness. This bidirectional relationship supposedly explains phenomena like mass behavioral shifts, synchronized emotional responses across populations, and even the reported increase in psychic experiences during major geomagnetic events. Researchers point to studies of the Schumann resonance, the Earth's electromagnetic frequency of approximately 7.8 Hz, noting how it closely resembles human brainwaves during meditative states. Some theorists argue this isn't coincidental, but evidence of our neurological entrainment with planetary rhythms. They claim ancient civilizations understood this connection, constructing monuments at specific electromagnetic hotspots to enhance communication with the planetary consciousness. The theory extends into explaining mass consciousness events, suggesting that when large populations experience similar emotions simultaneously, they generate powerful energy fields that temporarily alter Earth's aura, which then amplifies and broadcasts these emotions back to humanity. This feedback loop supposedly accounts for unexplained synchronicities in global behavior, crowd psychology, and even certain religious experiences described across diverse cultures throughout history. Some adherents believe that regular environmental disruptions, including natural disasters, might represent the planet's energetic system attempting to rebalance after being thrown into disarray by collective human negativity. They suggest that by consciously directing positive thoughts, humans might influence geological and meteorological patterns, a claim mainstream science firmly rejects for lacking measurable evidence or plausible mechanisms. Historical records from various spiritual traditions seem to reference this concept, from indigenous teachings about Mother Earth responding to human actions to Eastern philosophies describing the planet as a living organism